Hello everyone and welcome back to TNF Talks, our weekly catch-up of all things nerdy, whether your bag is TCG, game collecting or just heated debates around the greatest video games of all time. Sit back and relax as we look at our latest pickups and games with Ross, and we take another step into the unknown in Blind Mates with Saunders. Let's do it! So gents, week 2 of the pod, and it feels like there's been about 3 weeks jammed in between episode 1 and episode 2. How has real life been for you both? Saunders?
Absolute chaos, mate. And as Ross pointed out as we were prepping for this, I knew where to store my stuff, but got a sink and a toilet sitting there.
Nice.
So I've basically no office access all week because the bathroom's getting done in here. And then I think once it's finished, I'm going to actually start the setup and redoing this room. So more chaos to come, but plenty of filming, plenty of trips, bit of editing, and plenty to talk about the rest of the pod.
Good, exactly what I love to hear. Ross, you look like a man defeated this evening. You are extremely slouched in that chair.
Oh, I'm like almost so relaxed that I'm vertical. This week's been this week has disappeared.
You'd be fucking horizontal, mate, if you were very relaxed.
Exactly.
Well, tomato. Right? This week has absolutely disappeared for me, and I don't really know where the time has went because I don't really feel like I've done anything. Obviously, between because Forgotten Worlds that we'll talk about later on was pre-first pod, wasn't it?
I have no idea what day that was last week. It was some point last week.
Thursday, right?
Wednesday.
So you keep an eye
Wednesday.
out next week on the pod, or not the pod, on the channel for the fruits of our labour and the video from that. Retro Ghetto though beat us to it, which was a shame. He got in there before us.
I've heard that man's name more in the last week because you have repeatedly told me this information and I've ever seen him on my For You page. So, Retro Ghetto, free advertising. There you go. I'm kind of a bit like you, Ross. This week has just totally escaped me. I cannot believe it is recording time again. I feel like I spent half my week now in Riverside recording these podcasts since we have two. And I don't know if it's just a full weekend of wrestling following the trip to Forgotten Worlds, and then the pods have just basically melted my week away. But yeah, it's been a quick week, and I am really looking forward to getting stuck into tonight's podcast. So, the first thing I want to talk about is what you've been up to specifically, Ross. You've been to multiple CEXs as well as Forgotten Worlds, so it's time to play. It's not really a game, but we're going to play games with Ross.
It's like a show and tell. It's like if you're back in primary school, sort of thing. So yeah, I've been to what? I've been to two. I didn't buy anything in one of them. Bought one in the other.
Blasphemy.
So yeah, sometimes you just go in just for a little wander around, just to kind of see what's what. So I guess I'll start with what I got from Forgotten Worlds, which is a minor spoiler for the video that's coming out next week. So, you know, if you care, avert your eyes and ears for like the next 60 seconds. So it was Craig actually who shouted me over and went, "Here, there's a Dragonite in this binder," because as some of you at home may know, I've kind of pivoted from the more newer Pokemon TCG cards to the Wizards of the Coast era and got a quite nice, to be fair, Playware Dragonite from Fossil. Now, it was 20 quid, but even though it's seen some shit, it's had better days, it is actually one of those cards that you don't see at a good price very often because it's a fucking fortune. So I was quite happy to pick that up. I've yet to put it in the binder because I knew at some point I was going to have to show it to camera, so it's been actually sitting on my desk from the second I came back in. And this theme's going to continue on a little bit. I was watching, I can't remember who I was watching, but I was watching someone on YouTube and they were talking about game series that they hadn't played before, and sort of they were curious about it, and the other guy was like absolutely astounded at this. And then we went to Forgotten Worlds, and I've had something behind me for a while that I haven't touched, and I thought, well, if I see this, I'll get a run at this. So I managed to pick up a boxed copy of FF7, which to Daz's happiness
I'm all
It's
in.
pretty good nick. There's like the tiniest little superficial nick on the case. It looks really bad, but it's actually not. You can't really feel it with your thumb. So combining that with the remasters of 1 through 6, that's a nice little run to get, because I think 7 was the first one that you could get natively on the PS1, because I think before that it was like the Famicom or something.
Yeah, they were all over the place before that.
So I saw that and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it. So we've got a new TV being delivered to the living room tomorrow, which is the thing that's been kind of holding me off doing like a quick jump on TikTok for an hour, pointing the camera at the TV type style of streaming. So keep an eye out on the TNF TikTok for that one, because I think I'm going to do a test stream before it and then maybe start firing in.
Nice.
So then that takes me to CEX, where I then went to the shelves and saw that, which was 10 and 10-2's remaster. So 10 and 10-2 obviously coming out for the PS2, but they ported them to PS3 with something I actually don't know, other than the fact that it will probably look a bit nicer. The difference is. So then we've got this weird gap where I have 1 through 6, 7, and nothing in the middle, including all of the 7 spin-offs. And then I go to the next set of shelves, and it's PS2 games. And what do I see but Final Fantasy VII Dodge Cerberus?
Nice.
And I was like, I have never seen that before, but I've heard of it. So I was like, yeah, this order now is all over the place in terms of how these came out. I thought, screw it. It was in pretty good nick. And I think there's only one other Final Fantasy game these days, other than obviously the original like PS1s are like FF8, 9 and 10 that cost above like 20 quid. That's obviously 15. There's Lightning Returns is 28. And then everything else
that
is
the
cheaper.
last one you buy.
Well, I'm going to try and go through them in like release order as the plan.
Okay.
So I'll figure out where I'm going to get FF8 from in about 200 hours of gameplay. And then I came back to the PS3 shelves and I remembered that I was looking to replace one Platinum, and it was Tools of Destruction, because if you've ever saw a PS3 Platinum, they look revolting. They look terrible. And it's the only Platinum I had. So I was like, screw it. Saw that for like, what, 4 quid?
Talk me through this Platinum thing, Ross, right? Because I'm not an avid vintage game collector, right? And to me, the term Platinum would suggest it is a better version of the game, but I'm led to believe that's not the case.
Sometimes when they did the Platinum releases, occasionally they would put updates on them to fix bugs. But Platinum literally just meant sold above X amount of threshold or got X amount of good review scores at the sort of time when it came out. So like, I'll give you an example. I'll find that one. So that's what the PS3 ones look like.
That is pretty hideous.
They're pretty ugly. When you see them sort of side by side, you go, I know which one I would rather buy.
Yes.
PS2 ones obviously are kind of the same. Sometimes the covers were a bit more inset on the front. So you had like this big massive silver border. The spines look fine. Don't really care as much about the spines, but it's the covers that are kind of the important one. There are some people that go as far as to only collect Platinums because it's easier, because no one wants them. So I think for PS2 there was something like 230 Platinum games. Something mental like that. And PS3, they didn't do it for as long, and they ditched it for the greatest hits, which is like red. There's a sort of flare on it. It does actually look alright, to be fair. I've got like, I think my dad bought Far Cry 3 for the PS3.
Oh, nice.
And it's a greatest hits one. It looks okay. I don't mind them. But yeah, Platinums are thumbs down from me. So I can go and trade that in at some point whenever I can be asked. And get out of the way.
Nice. That is a whole host of juicy pickups you've got there. I'm really excited for your journey into Final Fantasy. I think you'll love it, personally. I could spend the whole podcast talking about it, so I'm going to move on to what I picked up from Final Fantasy.
No doubt come up, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, it definitely will. Yeah, Forgotten Worlds, for me, first and foremost, the place after it has been revamped is absolutely incredible. I don't know how they managed to level up a place that was already insane, but their new layout is just so much better. They've got the gaming tables in now. and the shop floor just looks immaculate now.
It's cool, man.
Before it looked a bit like what I would imagine the inside of your head looks like, Ross, when it comes to game collecting. It was just a mishmash of shelves and stuff. But the
Shelves
layout's
everywhere.
incredible. Now, shelf counter. But yeah,
Maybe get more shelves soon, actually. Just a heads up, maybe get more.
Wow. That's, you know what, that is a whole video on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did say it last week, I'm a little bit in the void when it comes to Pokemon collecting. So I wasn't looking for anything in particular when we went to Forgotten Worlds, and Craig and I were looking through the vintage binders and stuff. I was looking for Arbok. Unfortunately, there was none. So I had to settle for something a little bit different. I don't think I've spoken about this on camera. I have recently got more into collecting sports cards. I am not entering the absolute danger zone that is baseball card collecting, mostly because I know nothing about baseball, but I'm not willing to bankrupt myself for the opportunity of trying to pull a card of a player. I have no idea who they are. But there's some really nice tops football stuff that seems to have banged onto the market right now. Some big content creators are opening a lot of these sets. So it dawned on me that Tops have now started making the Premier League cards again as of 25-26.
That's cool.
So I was really interested to see what it looked like, because I had bought some of the Panini Prism stuff in the past, and some of the Panini Match Attack stuff, because they were quite cheap. I think the Tops cards are about £3.50 a pack, which is a little bit more expensive. But again, you kind of get what you pay for. And just there's like a whole host of bulk that are just like wedged all over my desk right now, because I need to find somewhere to put them all. But yeah, that's just the bulk cards. All the hits are in the binder. Did pick out 2 numbered cards. We got a numbered Manchester City badge, and also a numbered Elan Melee, with a pink refractor. So yeah, I can't really complain at the 10 packs that I bought. It wasn't the only venture that I went on in the last week or so. Craig and I also visited Dominion, where he went to pick up his One Piece stuff that he'd ordered, and he also picked up some new Dragon sleeves, which I know that someone got to borrow for his Dragonite. And what I did pick up was this little beauty right here.
Oh, that's cool.
The Final Fantasy. Cool. Final Fantasy Ross. Yeah, I bought myself. I have been putting it off for a while because the price of the Magic the Gathering stuff just gets crazy after the releases come out. But I have bought myself a Cloud Starter deck. Craig and I are planning to play a lot more of the game, the trading card game itself. So yeah, got myself a new starter deck. I'm in the process of building my deck. This one's actually a commander deck, which is slightly different to standard play. So if there's any Magic the Gathering nerds out there, keep posted, because this is my shit right now. So yeah, there'll be more of that to come.
See, in terms of like and not obviously because people don't really do it with Magic cards, but see, in terms of like the football cards, how does it work in terms of if you wanted to like slab them and get them graded? Like, is that something that Ace, for example, will actually do?
Yeah. Ace is, well, I'm sure they will be accepting the 25-26 top submissions, because they were doing the Panini ones before, but you can get your cards graded. It's a bit of a nightmare, the football cards, right? Because if you're buying your Pokemon sets, you've got like 198 base cards in the set, and then you've got 50 secret rare cards behind that, including SIRs. I think, don't quote me on the exact number, but I'm pretty sure the Topps 25-26 set is about 500 cards in size.
Right.
It's huge. Yeah, so you get like... So like there's a base... Oh, I won't show him because he's a bad man. He's a bad man. That's Thomas Party. He's a bad man. Yeah, so you got all sorts. So there's a Gabriel Martinelli. So that's just a base card. You'll get different versions of that card itself. You'll get numbered versions. It's insane. There is all sorts of cards. There's some really cool ones. There's like retro threads in this, so you get like throwbacks to the 90s Premier League where they're wearing the old kits and
cool.
stuff like that. There's Pro Precision. I got a Pro Precision Wayne Rooney in my packs that was pretty cool. But yeah, if I was trying to collect the actual set, it would cost me a fortune because it's like 500 cards deep you need to run to find them, and that's obviously not including the numbered cards. Obviously, that's just the base and all the parallels. So, yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but you can get them graded. Ace will grade them for you, but you're probably more likely when it comes to the sports cards that you're looking to get things like memorabilia, patches, and autos, which you can get autos in this set, but you're more likely to get them out of some of like the higher end sets, like the Top Obsidian and stuff like that. So yeah,
It's pretty cool.
nice. Just before we move on, Sanders, there's a hella buzz coming off your setup.
Yeah, I can hear Darren through you.
But I can also, it sounds like there's a fan or something.
Don't think it's on the PC. Unless it's just picking the
feedback.
PC up.
It's just picking up some feedback. It's the first I've heard it in all the recordings we've done. It's now gone. But yeah, I could hear myself.
Skibbity-dibbity-doop. Yeah,
Turned the gain down slightly. Turned the gain down slightly, and it seemed to have fixed it. So a bit. I don't know if the wee man's been playing a bit with the mic.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
I'll mark that for the clips and I'll delete
that
it
was
for
15.
export it.
It was at 15:55.
Aye.
Right, here we go. We are not the only people who have picked some stuff up, Saunders, as you were very eager to show me pre-pod. You could not hold it in. Share with me your gems. I'm so excited.
I'm going to start with Forgotten World since we've all done that. No, it's a. So I have just switched over to a bit like yourself, does. It's not that I'm fed up with the Pokemon TCG. We discussed this last week. It's just that the prices have made it not enjoyable. And I distinctly remember, right as we started thinking about doing this stuff, was the trip to Manchester in March when we had that probably pre conversation that led to the TNF and TGS. But I remember you in Card Empire saying, "I can't believe I'm buying fucking singles," and that's kind of how it's going to. I'm feeling now. So I believe it or not, I do a couple of singles coming tomorrow for Temporal Forces because I had some money in the Vinted account. So I thought, fuck it. But I enjoy ripping packs, and I've said this for a long time. I don't enjoy, like, if you're sitting in a stream and you're sitting watching somebody rips a pack and it's like, nothing there. No, I don't know. There's some nice cards and there's some good Pokemon, but it's like, oh no, you've not hit the £300 card, therefore you've not won.
Yep.
So I've made a bit of pivot to wrestling cards, which I was showing off. So there's some pickups there, and I'm not going to get through them all because I don't know. Maybe
You beat me to it. It's not a bit of a pivot. It's a full-on head-on collision into wrestling cards.
It is, but at the same time, I think I've spent less than £100 total, and mostly because I'm just buying base cards at less than £1 or 4 cards for £3 because I just buy wrestlers I like. But I did pick up in Forgotten Worlds, and you guys know every time I've been there for the last 6 months, I've looked at this card. It's a Becky Lynch base rookie, but it is autographed, which you can see there. So it's not an auto. It has been signed by Becky Lynch after the production, and it is authenticated. So
That's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool. It was pretty cool up until Sunday night, and if you want to know why, go and Shovel Wrestling podcast. It's one of the ones. It's the moment. It's the lead card I've got. Although you guys know I had, certainly Dan was in my eyes on a nice solo Sokoa a couple of weeks ago that I've missed it on. So that was one pivot. And then the other pickups, which I did just show off, which I think are absolute gaming classics. Now, I would suggest that anybody that's interested in this stuff should go back and watch Tuesday's video. Because I actually went to Kinnan Park Antique Centre in Glasgow, which, forgetting the game stuff, is actually a hell of a lot of fun. See for like 45 minutes in the corner, I had a great time. But I have picked up some absolute PlayStation classics.
Oh, just look at them.
I think that was the last one before THQ was Attitude.
Yep.
And then the 2 SmackDown games, which these were really, this was when I became a wrestling fan, 2000, 2001. I remember playing that at my uncle's and he gave me it. And then Mum and Dad bought me that for my birthday next year because I was like obsessed with wrestling at that point. And honestly, some might say they peaked at this point. Genuinely, the actual gameplays and arcade type games were just fun. There was a period there where we all know what the GOAT game is, don't we? The GOAT game is. The GOAT game will be in next week's video, Forgotten Worlds. We'll talk about it.
There was a good one for the Game Boy Advance. The name escapes me. I remember.
Are you talking about Road to WrestleMania?
It might have been. I remember playing that a lot.
I think
the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I had Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance as well.
Game Boy Color?
No, it was Game Boy Advance. I had it, but I played it on my original Nintendo DS because obviously I had the port at the bottom for the old GBA games. Road to WrestleMania was a lot of fun. It really, really was.
Good, man.
I picked him up now. Am I going to play them? Probably, but it is more for the background and display. But Nicole did ask me to be home. Do you actually have something to play them on? And the answer at the moment is no. So tune in next week to see the PlayStation 1 review.
PS2,
it's been
surely.
You don't need a PS1. You can get a PS2 for it.
I gotta get both of them. That's the following week.
Oh no, yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like that.
It's been a quiet week this week. That was more last week into this week, and obviously I've got some singles coming the more if invented. But I looked at it last week. I'm enjoying the wrestling cards, and I'm enjoying. It's going to sound a bit wrong, but I think the community seems better, and the same with the game collecting community seems a bit better. It seems like we've got a wee bit of, obviously from a creator's point of view, we've got a wee bit of traction on TikTok. Ross has done a hell of a job the last 2 or 3 weeks over there, but we're seeing the same people having conversations back and forward. I've had the same thing in the card stuff, so hoping to get in a couple of Discord groups and sort of punt the pods a little bit, but just people working with each other to find cards and stuff and working offline and doing deals and making sure people looked after, and like certain creators, I've seen them on their stream saying like, I've picked up these 2 cards, but I know this person was looking for this particular wrestler.
Nice.
So
I like that.
Aye, so compared to what's happening in some, particularly the Pokemon streams right now, it's crazy. So it's been a bit more relaxed. Feel definitely less FOMO. Maybe it's because I'm new into it and I'm just like, oh, there's a Roman Reigns WrestleMania moment. I don't really care if it's numbered or not. It's a quid and I'm going to buy it and it's going to be on my display. And that's kind of where I'm just now. So it's probably more than that, which is a bit naivety, but not in a bad way, because I know that when I jumped into Pokemon earlier in the year with the 3 of you guys, it was very much like, here is all the information you need, and straight away you go from starter to 75% of all, you know what I mean, pretty quickly. So this feels a bit more like I can just enjoy it at my own pace. So know that
Definitely find that with sports cards. You definitely find that with sports cards.
Especially in the UK.
It's not a mad rush to get your hands on products almost instantly, because there are in certain ones, and that's why I'm not going down the route of things like baseball, because the hobby boxes are just like gold dust, and they are extortionate. The prices, some of them are eye-watering. But the good thing about the sports cards is that it is a more niche community, so you tend to find that they are a little bit smaller in number, and they tend to work together because it's all about numbered cards rather than the rarity of cards as it is in Pokemon. So people collect certain sets and for example, certain wrestlers. So they'll be looking to try and connect with you with cards for somebody else so that they can make a trade. So it is a much more niche community, and it's it's less toxic than the Pokemon community. Sure.
I'll give one positive shout out to Whatnot this time, because they actually did me a solid.
Well,
I think I explained to you last week before. I'd got that. I did a big E, and it was actually a 1 of 25. And it turned up, and right below my address in the front bit of paper, which obviously I'm not going to show him, a big kind of, it almost looked like it had been stapled onto or stamped onto, and immediately my heart sank genuinely. I opened it up. There was the kind of flyer for the seller. The mark was on it. Then there was a mark on the top loader, and then I took it out, and there was a mark on the penny sleeve, and right at the end was a wee tiny dent right next to his head. And I was like, I paid like I don't know, 18 quid or something for the card. It wasn't massively expensive, but I'm sitting there going like, I just ruined it because I do want some of them graded for this slab display purposes. I'm not interested in chasing profit, but I immediately raised a dispute with Whatnot, and within 20 seconds, I ticked the box, obviously, say damage in transit, and in 20 seconds the refund was approved. So I will assume that from a Whatnot perspective, they just claim that for Royal Mail, and it means there's not actually any difficulty on their behalf.
It must be insured when they post it.
But after the issues I had the last time, I thought it would at least be fair for me to at least go on the record and say, you know what, different issue, because the last issue was 100% the individual seller, not Whatnot. This was very much a Royal Mail issue, although a wee bubble mailer wouldn't have went amiss. But then it's like, remember the Futurama scene? When will they learn to build ships with 6,001 hulls? When will they learn? It's like, almost like that one. Like, it's a shame. I've still got the card. The refund got approved and I never got asked in the card back. So I've got the card and it's a bit gubbed, but maybe one day I'll get Big E to sign it and it'll reclaim something as well.
Definitely. So yeah, big week last week in games in terms of announcements and what is set to come over the coming months and the rest of the year. But this week was a bigger week for us in terms of gaming, picking some things up, some nice pickups, and the upcoming video due to drop next week is all about our trip to Forgotten Worlds and its new revamp. So make sure you have notifications on for that dropping. Which takes us up nicely to what I feel is going to become my favourite part of this podcast. I loved last week's Blind Mates with Saunders, and I cannot wait to get stuck in again. Just before we do, for anyone who listened to last week's podcast, you will remember us spending what must have felt like 4 hours discussing the greatest first-person shooter of all time, when in actual fact there's another 3 rounds of first-person shooters to go. So we have made the decision to clip the bracket out of the podcast and just make it a little standalone video that will drop each weekend. So yeah, keep your eyes over the weekend to see when that drops. So yes, let's go on to what will quickly become my favourite part of this podcast. Let's play Blind Mates with Saunders.
Before I reveal this week's topic, I will just say that if anybody is visiting Forgotten Worlds, let us know, because 9 times out of 10 I'm usually there with twice a week anyway. And if you want to do some sort of collaboration or conversation,
he's decided to move a lot closer to it. By a lot closer to it, he bought the unit next door.
I rented the unit next door, but only for a few weeks. And I don't rent anymore. Actually, the lease expired this month. Right, Blind Mates. So I've got a list of like 20 topics for this, right, to take my way through Christmas. And I'm glad it went down well last week, because I will deliberately obviously put stuff into the pod, and I will hold things back. I'm like, you know, this would be really good just to have an off-the-cuff conversation. And obviously I saw Dazzy's face last week. I mentioned Blockbuster. I've never seen him so happy. So this one is just a little bit different, but still a nostalgic topic. And it is a conversation that we have all had, I'm pretty sure, in the last 6 months, if not the last year. I've actually got 3 things for this myself, 2 of which are pretty much the same. So I'll explain the topic and I'll explain my answer as you guys think. As nerds, collectors, gamers, etc., if you could go back and do something totally different, or something you'd regret, what is it? Why is it? So
it's a deep question.
For me, it is a deep question, but I think it's a good question. I know. So I've got 3 things. Ross definitely knows one of them, because we talked about it last week. But I would go back to. So I took a massive break for gaming in 2008 when I started my job, because we worked away from home and I had Ross internet for 2 years and could not play online. And when I came back home, I remember back at my parents' house and getting almost like a proper setup at the PC, the desk, had my Xbox and telly behind me and that. And I just wish at some point I'd have been like, right, I want to start playing games again properly. Because I feel like we're at that age where had we been in that mindset then compared to now, it'd be interesting to see where we'd all be in terms of gaming, because like we've all streamed at some point, we've all played games, we've all played games at a relatively, I'm not saying a high level professional, but we've all played with an intention of being competitive and doing well. So for me, I just think, like, I also did another break when I get back into coaching basketball, but I just think going back to like 2010, 2012, right, as things like what was Justin TV and eventually Twitch and streaming and YouTube became big, like, because we've got literally a group of between 6 and 8 guys who've probably gamed 5 nights out of 7 for the best part of 20 years. Aye,
There's still a couple of us who game 6 nights out of 7. Big respect, Editor Craig. Big up, Editor Craig. We have a normal bedtime of around 2 a.m. So
I'm at, for me that's the one, is like, it's almost like a what if. I don't regret it because I'm like, well, the fact I did other things, like I coached basketball for 10 years and played and did that at a higher level, but like, there's a bit of a what if. What if I decided at that time I'm going to just go to Blockbuster, get my ice cream, my popcorn, and come back and game for 3 straight days at the weekend?
You could have been our Josh Zerka. You could have been our Zerka. I mean, I'd need to be eating. I'm the fat one, so Ross, that makes you
Simon.
Vic. I'm going to make you Vic. Why not?
I don't watch the Sidemen, but I'm sure these are totally not.
Vic's get more money than the rest of them. No, Buffy.
I mean,
JJ.
I'll take that.
There you go.
No, it's mad to think about, to be fair, because like we all knew someone. I think he was. I won't mention names, right? I'm not going to sit and like dox people, but there was someone when we were at school in Saunders' year at school who was like that with Gears of War when the OG Gears of War came out, where like he was third in the world.
No, but he was number 1 for I think 3 straight weeks in the world at one point.
He was consistently top 5.
Aye,
and if Justin TV was around at that time, which it actually wouldn't have been, if I'm thinking of the years,
it would have been. It might have just been him because it was just Justin. That was the whole point. He live streamed his life before it became like a multi-channel thing. But the boy you're talking about was like so good that if he wasn't playing with people at his level, his rank would just tank. Even if he was like top of leaderboards, because he could not get enough XP to stay that high. It was insane.
He would play some games. He would play things like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But I don't think he ever entertained a game of Gears with anybody who wasn't on his level.
Speaking of, there was another one in that group though who was very, very highly ranked at Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, Bev was good.
To the point where he would go home at lunchtime and play for 45 minutes because it was worth his time to do that. These guys predated. If that had been 3 or 4 years later, they would have been huge.
Esports and stuff. So it does make you think, like, because I mean, I've dabbled on and off with streaming in some capacity since 2019 was probably the first time I chucked a game stream on Twitch and thought, let's see what happens type thing. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? That's kind of why, without needing to get too deep, it's why I think we've all kind of took the bull by the horns in some capacity across the various different things, be it TNF, be it parts of TNF, be it TGS, like, taking the bull by the horns and just kind of going for it now because, no tomorrow.
Have you got something different then? On you stuck, because I know you've probably given the content stuff more of a try than the rest of us.
I probably regret stopping and doing poker for a couple of years, as much as I actually really enjoyed it and made a lot of really good. I really enjoyed my time there. Made some friends that I still speak to this day who still do it. Like 1 or 2 of them are professional partnered poker players, and they do really, really well for themselves. They get taken on trips to, like, they get all expenses paid to, like, there's an event in Barcelona, there's an event in Las Vegas. They go and they get bought into the main event and they go play it, and it looks amazing. But it does make you think, if I hadn't stopped, we would have probably started doing this earlier, because I would have started dragging you in by hook or by crook at some point.
Give it a bash during COVID. I think that's the thing that sticks with me. It's not. I'm not saying I'm not saying I would play more games, but it's the group aspect. Because like when I tried to stream during COVID, then obviously it was heavily saturated. The most fun I had was actually just playing games with the guys. Like, okay, I happened to be on Twitch at the time, but it was just the fact that we were together playing games. That's why we so fondly remember Verdansk. And the game might have been shite, but it was the fact that we were just chilling together and like it was when we were 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's a bit like had we had a group or a team trying this 15 years ago where it could be. But I'm interested again with yourself, Daz, if you've got something different or if that's now stuck in your head, because that's what we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes.
So it's definitely one of my biggest regrets. I think I actually might have been the first in the group to do live streaming. I started on Mixer. In 2017. I started in Mixer and went really good guns on Mixer. It's kind of similar to Ross's Poker. I made a lot of friends who I still also speak to. Some huge creators, some small creators. Mixer was a really, really good place to be. I think when they shut the doors at Mixer in 2020, I had about just under 1,800 followers. So I was a ball here of being able to apply to become a partner with Mixer. So when they closed the doors, I found myself at a crossroads and I thought, can I start again? Do I have it in me to basically go from scratch and start again? Because a lot of the people were dispersed across different places. The partners who were existing, some were offered partnerships with Twitch, some were offered them with Facebook. A lot of them moved to Facebook, and Facebook was a UI I really didn't like. Facebook gaming way back when. It's better now, but at the time it was really, really poor. And it also came at a really challenging time. It came during COVID, but also on a personal level, I moved in with my, at the time, partner. So I then had to juggle some real life stuff and thought, do I have the time to commit to trying to go and stream again?
Yeah.
But it's a much bigger pond on Twitch, so it's a lot harder to get. And don't get me wrong, the people that I met at Discords I was in, I would have had that level of support, but it would have been a total slog to start from scratch on Twitch. And my personal life at the time meant I couldn't. It's probably one of my biggest regrets because I really enjoyed it. Without tooting my own horn, I was good at it. So I do regret not seeing that out.
You had 1,800 followers and it was like a legit community, but because I remember seeing some of your streams and there was people, your Twitter,
it was one of us.
As well was always going.
It was one of us community I was part of. Some really, really influential people on Mixer, guys like Rob Catalano and stuff like that, who Moody Gamer, probably the biggest British one at the time. So no, there was loads and loads of support, and I am gutted that I never, when I think back, but I will give you something different that's not been mentioned yet. It's only a regret with the benefit of hindsight, because I now know how important these things are, and I would never have envisioned in the big 2025 that this would still be such a prevalent thing. Yeah. I would have taken so much more care with things like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like I not even for a value.
That's one of the other two I had.
Not even for a value perspective. Obviously, like I had base set Pokemon and they're all in the loft, and I'm terrified to bring them down because I don't know what condition they're in. I could have a base set Charizard first edition line up there in pristine condition. It's more likely it's lying up there water damaged and beaten within an inch of its life. Snotters and chocolate all the top of it, but
well, if it's not a 10, it might as well be a 1.
Exactly. But it's not even just for the value aspect. For the, I don't know how many base set Pokemon cards I had, but I remember having Pokemon cards stack this size. It was humongous, and just to be able to have them, stick them on a binder, and just say, do you know what? That's my childhood. So I need to get them out of the loft at some point, face my fears, and see what condition they're in. Ross, you did it. Some of yours were beaten up. Some of yours were in really good condition. So that is a toss-up. I don't know where they are positioned in the loft, or if it leaks through the loft before, whether or not the cards are privy to that or there's somewhere else. I don't know. But not just Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Most of them are gaming stuff, to be honest. I spoke about it last week. I don't collect hard copies of games. There's a number of games I wish I'd kept. All my RE games that I had on disc. I think I still have some of them. I wish I'd kept all my originals. I had probably some collectibles when I was younger, and that are now collectibles that I would never have known at the time. But when you're young, it's one of those, you want to play something else, so you open the disc tray, you take the disc out, and you sit at the top of the console, and before you know, you get 19 discs stacked on top of each other and all getting scratched up to fuck.
Or were they wallets?
Those wallets.
God,
it's the equivalent of a ring binder, and it's just the equivalent of a ring binder for cards. So yeah, my biggest regret from could I be creating content for work right now? Possibly, because that was 5 years ago. So that's a huge what if. But my biggest regret on a personal level is probably not taking better care of my stuff when I was younger. But that's only with the benefit of hindsight. I had a fucking great time when I was younger with all that stuff. So it's not like it was I would probably be sitting here saying, if I had them on pristine condition, I'd probably be saying I maybe regret not enjoying them more. Because a lot of people say that about their their sealed collections, like figurines and stuff like that, from when they were younger. Why not just take them out and play with them? That's what they were made for. So it's you know what I mean.
My other two were basically the same thing. It was obviously, I've talked about in a lot of videos, giving away the PS1 and PS2 collection, and that was, I want to say it was when I moved out permanently, but it might have been before that. Like I said, when my parents rejigged the whole upstairs of the house, and then, I don't know if it was then, and that would have been when about the time where I was away from home and not gaming, and then even when I did move out, that was when I was so committed to my coach and I wasn't gaming. So it was probably like one of those windows where it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And as I say with the Pokemon cards, wrestling figures as well. There's money in them, even non-sealed. There's still a bit of money in them. So it is the same thing. But I'm also sitting here going, well, I know for a fact that my Pokemon cards were in school bags and going to school with me, and they were out the playground, and there was holes in it.
And beside your lunch, you know that. Yeah.
It's not like it was. I was keeping them because like would we have paid back then? I think it was $2.50 for a pack in the late 90s here. So
my auntie used to buy me every Christmas. Me and Adam used to get either depending on what was it was either a booster box of Pokemon cards, or it was a booster box of Panini SPL stickers. We used to get for our auntie every year at Christmas. So, well, the last time I asked her about it, I'm sure she said it was like £50 for a booster box back then or something like that. Like, obviously with inflation, that's expensive, but yeah, you were talking like 170 odd a pack or something like that. The equivalent when you buy out a booster box. You know what I mean?
I remember in Woolworths and Soulkits, I'm sure it was $2.50 at MSRP, but that's what I'm saying. Like, apart from the Charizard and maybe the Blastoise, certainly for first edition or the base set, even now the highest individual card isn't worth that much in terms of what inflation is. I'm not talking about the hindsight of like, I know I didn't have a Charizard, I may have had a Blastoise, I definitely didn't have a Charizard, but I'm not talking about like, I could have been sitting on 20 grand worth of Charizards. I'm just mean like, I remember Mum saying to me, when they spend Pokemon, I just spend them. They play Pokemon anymore, but I just wished there was something in my brain that went, nah, I'll keep on them. Like, what's the
For nostalgic value, and I know.
Because they were never in the loft, they were in cupboards, so they would have been fine. Apart from probably ring minder damage, let's be honest. But
yeah, that's the one thing that terrifies me about mine. I don't think I had a binder when I was younger, so I'm fucking terrified as to where they are. Hopefully they're inside like a shoebox or something. But you're right, like, I'd have been at school when I was younger, trading like that Dragonite that you've got, Ross. I'd have been trading that Dragonite for a fruit winder or a cheese string or something. Like, they just held no value at the time, and looking back, who knows what my collection actually looks like.
You used to trade for a Pokemon that you liked. It wasn't because here's 10 cards for your one because yours is worth 50 quid and mine's are all worth a fiver each. It was like,
I really want that Porygon you've got. Here is a Blastoise in exchange because that's your favourite. 100%, mate. That's when kids were kids, and kids were mini collectors.
Woolworths and Soulkits doing like a swap shop day. I just sit in, there was like 40 kids turned up, and this was like the middle of summer holidays. It was class. And just everybody had like the elastic bands around the massive piles of cards, and it was like the doubles and that.
I'm like you, Ross. I shudder every time I see that now.
But awful to think about, man.
It is, but I know it does feel like a deep question, but I thought it would prompt a good conversation. Like,
definitely.
It wasn't because we'll talk about, most weeks we'll talk about stuff that we remember fondly, but I know we've had this conversation, like, Ross, you and I have had this a lot, saying like, imagine we just like kept playing Call of Duty 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine we just played hide and seek. Imagine we just played hide and seek that year with an app and filmed it. You know what I mean? We would be the snipe men.
The snipe men. Patent pending.
So I'll keep thinking good topics, but I thought that I did say to you guys, it was probably about 15 minutes. It would prompt a bad discussion and nostalgia, and even though it felt deep, it becomes like a nice, because we started reminiscing about like, well, I remember taking these to school, and like, as you say, somebody's got a packet of salt and vinegar, and I'm like, I'm quite peckish actually. Here, have of a Blastoise. I want something to eat. It's a Charizard.
I know. It scares me to think, like, it's so weird how it goes, because I was a huge Pokemon guy, and Connor, one of the other pals, affectionately known as Cubert, across the back for me, was a massive Yu-Gi-Oh guy, but like he was an only child, so he had the full Boona. He had the deck on the arm and all that. And he fucking used to run about like it was Pegasus, and
still does.
See, yeah, he does. But if I was to ask him, does he regret would he have taken better care of his cards? I would say yes, but he probably had the most fun with Yu-Gi-Oh cards than I know out of everybody I've ever met. So yeah, you've got to weigh up, because all the kids you see nowadays at events are like mini collectors. They want to buy graded cards, and they're not collecting. The majority don't collect to play. They don't collect because they look cool. They collect because they know the value now, because that's what the hobby has become.
See what you say that, right? I was in Linwood the other day. I think I took the wee man to Smith's, and then went in a couple of shops to let him pick some toys out and stuff. And I was going into B&M or Home Bargains, one of the two doesn't next to each other. I was in there to get like toiletries and just usual crap. And there was a guy, a boy outside, he had one of the Caridon tins. He'd also just picked up at B&M. So I went in, came in, team of him came back out. There was at least 12 cards just lying on the deck. But obviously just...
That's so sad. That makes me so sad.
I know, and I'm like, I know it's just bulk, but like, just take it home, or like, find your wee cousin or your pal or your neighbour or a boy up the street and say, like, do you want some cards? If you're I get it, right? If you're chasing one or two cards, fine, because if it's a set, but it's like, you're just wanting a pool that you can sell or say, I've got this card. And I guess collectors, everybody can collect in their own way, but why even if you don't put the bins there, but you've just left them lying on the ground. And as you
give
say,
them away to a child. Just give them to someone.
I know, just give me somebody. I just thought, like, that's just, it was sad. And I mean, back in the old day, like, we weren't, I know it was different back then, because the original set.
Back in our day, that's how old we are. My God.
But the original base sets, it wasn't a 400 or 500 card set or a 300 card set. It was, I think, 100 and just over 100, just under 100. The base set, and so you wouldn't have been any cards. But if you doubles, if you doubles, you went and traded them. You didn't try and sell it. You didn't try and flip it. You just was like, well, I've got two
its own currency.
And you've got two of them. I've got let's just swap, because then we don't have two anymore.
You didn't do anything for money. It was a currency. For kids, you would
bottle caps.
You could, like, I know a guy who traded, I think it was something like 50 Pokemon cards. We were in primary 6 at the time. I remember it so poignantly because of some real life stuff that happened to me in that year. But there was a boy who traded 50 Pokemon cards for a PlayStation 1 game. And I was like, that's the fucking coolest thing ever. I'm like, I've just watched a transaction for a PlayStation. Like, I could not imagine how angry this boy's mum would have been when she found out they Pokemon cards in exchange for a PlayStation 1 game. I can't remember the name of the game, which is really frustrating.
What game? Actually,
yeah, I'm going
to know what cards as well.
I'll text him.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if he'll remember the cards, but I'll text him right and find out what game it was. See if he gets back to me.
102 cards in base set.
Yeah, it's just about a currency all of its own. But so there's another winner with blind mates. As I said, this is going to become my favourite segment of the podcast.
You're on the spot and you straight away.
It's great because it's the last two have been nostalgic. I'll see if I still enjoy it when you ask me something current events, but no, it's been a fun pod with it definitely shaving the time down tonight because we're chipping the bracket into its own video. We're not going to have Gamescom every week, but yes, we nerd out every Tuesday night for release on Wednesday about all things wrestling at the Golden Shovel podcast, where Saunders is our gracious host. We just fantasy book, chat shit all about our favourite things and least favourite things about modern day wrestling. It's great, and now every week we get to now just shoot the shit about games and trading cards, and it just gives us a chance to be an authentic nerd. So wrapping up this week's TNF talks, we do have, as I said earlier, the video coming out from our trip to Forgotten Worlds next week. This weekend you will also see the release of Prelim 2 of the bracket, which is all about sports games. So nice little teaser there are so many. There are more sports games than any other game out in the market because each of the big sporting franchises all have about 25 iterations now because they all started to make games in the 90s, where they did yearly release. So I think you like for things like Madden, you can go as far back as like 94, and that's for like console games. I'm not talking about like John Madden for like the Sega Saturn and stuff like that.
Bear in mind you had years as well where you had like EA and 2K making
Yeah,
games. So you
so-
get some years you get 2
Yeah.
NFL, 2 hockey games, 2
Yeah,
everything.
and that's before you include things like so you've got like Madden NFL, but you've also got EA NCAA, and it's like there's just so many games. So this week's bracket is going to be pigeonholed into franchises versus franchises because there is just too many games to get around. Because I would be picking
fair.
the bracket based on my favourite iterations of the games and not the groups. So it'll be franchises. So go back and listen to last week's if you want to find out who won. There will be a short recap when it drops at the weekend, but you're going to have to wait for that. So just go and watch last week's podcast and find out which one prelim.
After you finished this one though.
Yeah, do not click
Yeah,
off of this
well
until I am finished speaking. Yes, but another fun podcast. I'm looking forward to making these on a weekly basis. So from me, it is thank you and good night, boys.
Take it easy.
See you later.